Hi, this is David Mastio, California editor for the Center Square, and this is California in Focus. As always, I'm joined by Kenneth Schrupp, a California reporter for the Center Square. Today we're talking about Governor Gavin Newsom's reservoir executive order. Tell me, Kenneth, what did the governor do?
The governor signed an executive order giving just 270 days for the approval of an environmental impact report that's been holding up the construction of the Sites Reservoir, which has been considered by the state since the 1950s. I think something like $50 million has been spent on studies about the Sites Reservoir already. If we could get this started soon, that would be lovely. Projected construction is supposed to start in 2024, assuming there's only 270 days from now until then, and it could be done by 2030.
270 days doesn't seem really fast.
In environmental impact report related lawsuits, that is very fast. Right now, under the California Environmental Quality Act, anybody can keep just going after you in court on the grounds that they don't think your environmental impact report was good enough, or they find other objections that they keep adding to make your project entirely impossible. Governor Newsom and the Democratic legislature worked together to create a carve-out for CEQA for very qualified state, national level critical infrastructure projects like this.
Has the Sites Reservoir really been on the drawing board and funded since 2014?
In 2014, California voters passed something called Proposition 1 by about a 2-to-1 margin, and it created $7.5 billion of funding available for water storage, water infrastructure, and groundwater-related projects. There have been 0 projects completed with this funding since then. It was only in 2018 when the funding was actually awarded to sites, and it's been in limbo since then.
Did you say 0 projects have been completed since 2014?
Well, it's only been 9 years, so is 0 really that low? Well, to be fair, it absolutely is.
How many droughts ago was 2014?
I think 2014 was one drought ago. We had one drought that lasted from 2011 to 2017, and we've been getting better since then.
Will this order change anything about the California Environmental Quality Act itself?
Materially, no, except for extremely high priority projects the governor has decided to give significant attention to and potentially risk political fallout from. CEQA objections are used to hold up all kinds of projects that special interest groups from the left and the right, anyone in between, find objectionable for environmental, racial justice, any number of reasons.
Do we know what other project the governor intends to use this order on?
From my recollection, it's intended for use as an act for infrastructure like water and energy. We'll see what else can be used for. It might be used for some transportation projects. The railway could potentially be a good example of use opportunity for this. We'll see what the governor decides to do.
How many new reservoirs does California need?
That really depends on how much water Californians are expected to use. Right now, Californians use less water than we did in the 1980s on a per capita basis, and I believe also on an absolute basis. And if we can continue to be very efficient with our water use, we might not need to build significant new storage to keep up with just baseline consumption. But in the long term, if we don't build enough storage, then we're going to have to keep pumping groundwater out during bad years. That's leading to something called subsidence, where the land sinks into the ground. There's a part of the San Joaquin Delta that has submerged 6 feet lower than it was before, which is causing all this salt water to come into the delta and make the entire area unfarmable, but also ecologically a disaster.
Does California have plans to further restrict people's water use?
Yes, they do. There is a bill that was passed in 2022 that would make it so that Californians are only allowed to consume 47 gallons a day starting in 2025 and just 42 gallons a day in 2030. For reference, I believe the average American consumes something like 100-something gallons a day. So we're already an extremely water-efficient community. There are a lot of experts who argue that we've already gone for all the low-lying gains. We're already dealing with poor water pressure for washing out the shampoo if you got longer hair, or washing machines that you need to use 2 cycles for because they just don't do the job in one. Same thing goes for dishwashers. We already went for a lot of these low-hanging fruits. At a certain point, you just got to increase supply, and that means desalination powered by nuclear energy. That's one very affordable option we could use, or even natural gas. Another affordable option would be simply just building more reservoirs. It's not terribly expensive to wall up some areas and let it fill up with water.
Kenneth, how much water do we use and how much do we need?
Californians use 7.5 million acre-feet of water per year in the cities, and we're doing quite well with what we have. We have 39 million people living in California today using that much water, which is about how much we were using in 1985 for urban water use when we had somewhere like half the people. So we're really getting efficient there. Agricultural water use is in the low 30 million acre-feet of water. And we're now farming much more land than we were back in the day with far less water. So a lot of these efficiency gains have already been maximized. If we were to increase the supply and availability and abundance of water, there is a lot more opportunity for reducing dryness in California and droughts and improving the ecological balance of this state. Because right now we're just pumping out water in bad years because we can't store anything. There is a great and easy way for us to reach a system's potential that it was originally designed for in the mid-20th century. California's original water plan was supposed to be able to deliver about 40 million acre-feet a year for agriculture and another 10 million a year for urban use. This means that if we were to just follow the basic plans that we already had and we kept expanding our water infrastructure instead of essentially ending all construction in 1972 when we adopted so many of these new regulations allowing for environmental impact reports to hold up the construction of everything, that I wouldn't have to run my dishwasher twice. I wouldn't have to have a silly low-flow shower head that makes it impossible to get shampoo out of my hair.
I'm David Mastio with the Center Square, and we've been talking with Kenneth Schrupp, California reporter for the Center Square. You can read his work at thecentersquare.com. Thank you for listening to California in Focus, and please subscribe to our podcast.